Afternoon. Welcome to the special meeting for personnel related to preliminary state aid. Tuesday, March 4th, 4 o'clock, the Harrison County Board of Education will forego the pledge at the next meeting. So at this point in time, we turn it over to the superintendent for our personnel and related preliminary state aid.
Sure, then I'll turn it over to Mrs. Leesburg. I think you have a program in front of you, or?
Yes, a PowerPoint. That's what I'll be referring to throughout. But I just wanted to backtrack a little bit and let you know that this year, it's been, the whole personnel season has started back in October. We start that with the certified list. That's when you start with that process, and that's a huge report that collaborate with finance department that encompasses all the information with staffing, goes to the state. They gave their final approval in November, and that decides the amount of funding that we receive for personnel. So that started, we received the final approval in November. Then in November, the seniority verification approval for approximately 150 employees that were involved with the merger and consolidation. That was completed. Everybody received their seniority dates. They had to sign and approve those. If not, we communicated. They contacted us. There was any conflicts or anything, and we discussed that with them. So that was all good and resolved back in November. Then in December, there was 16 different times where there were the same seniority date was the same. So we had to have 16 different drawings that involved 47 employees. So that was completed. This was all prior to December when they received their seniority listings. They also received the position inventory selections that they were going to choose from. On December 20th, we did the Liberty into RCB, and then January 3rd, that's when we did Mountaineer Middle and WI Middle School going into Liberty Middle. So, and that involved over our 150 employees. Pam and I met individually with each one of those. A special thank you goes out to Julie for helping us, along with the personnel department that included Rebecca Hawk. We have Michelle Correll, Rachel Wilson, Cindy Harbert, and Connie Baker. They all helped tremendously with. It was a very good process. And just on the last board meeting in February 18th, you approved the movement of all Northview employees over to Mountaineer Elementary for next year. Just in the last week, I've delivered 19 of the recommended transfers and or realignments. And then the next posting, we're going to be posting for the coaching academic or extracurricular positions that will finalize everything with the coaching positions with the middle schools or with the merger, the consolidated students or schools, along with the rest of the county. And then the large posting in May, that will finish up the academic extracurricular positions for all those.
When are you going to post all these coaching jobs? I've had these coaches calling, wanting to know, because a lot of them, there's a lot of camps and stuff that they want the kids to go to, and they don't know who's going to be. So
It's always the first posting in March, so it's going to be March 6th through 12th.
6th through the 12th.
That's when the coaching extracurricular positions will be posted. And then in May is when we do all the academic with the large posting for next year.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So in March, and so I'll know.
March 6th through 12th will be the coaching.
And so, in other words, we won't select them then until the 17th.
If we receive the recommendations in time. Yeah.
That recommendation, okay.
If not in 1st of April. Just depends on how fast they can get those to us. If it involves interviewing, it'll probably be 1st of April. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just so I can tell all these people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Now on to our personnel plan. Harrison County Schools employs 178.14 professional and 69.07 service personnel in excess of the positions funded by the state. And you'll be able to see that in the upcoming graphs as well. Decrease of enrollment this year by 280 students. It was 311 decrease last year compared to the decrease of 331 students just 2 years ago. At the second month headcount enrollment was 9,355 students. Enrollment decrease directly affects the number of positions funded by the state. If the enrollment declines, the number of employees exceeding the formula will increase even if there is no change in the number of employees. 82.71% of the county's budget is dedicated to salaries and benefits. And within the personnel season, changes to staff can only be addressed during one period of time throughout the year, and that is January through May 1st annually. Now, on our first chart, this is discussing professional employees. We have a total of 884.41 that are not counting. This does not include the federally funded employees. And state aid formula funds 726.05. That is not including 10.1 for charter schools and 17.5 for UTC. So that leaves a total of 178.14 employees that are in excess of the funding that we receive. On the service, we have 564.38 service employees, not counting the federally funding positions. 205.48 are what we receive funding for. That does not include 9.15 for charter schools and 7.5 for UTC. So that leaves 69.07 in excess of funding. And 30 additional aides, they will be funded next year for the third grade classrooms. On the next page, you can see the decline of enrollment from 2017 to 2025. And this shows just 280 from last year, 311 for the previous year, and 331 before. This compares the last 2 years for homeschool students, charter schools, that's the projected amount for next year. Also the private schools and the Hope Scholarship students. That's listed in WEBIS.
Does the charter school number include the online charter schools too, or just the one in Athens?
I believe it's the
Online
online.
seventh grade.
Yes,
It includes all charter schools
yeah,
Okay.
that are from Harrison County.
yes.
The kids are there.
Now, the private schools in year 24, 194,
Mm-hmm.
and in year 25, 59. And you saying that they're leaving the private school and coming back to the public school?
Do you want to add Hope Scholarship?
Yeah, they're not necessarily returning to us, but she said they're moving over to Hope Scholarship because you can see the Hope Scholarship, that's increased.
Oh,
They just kind of shifted over.
And also in 2026 is when the guardrails are off the Hope Scholarship. They can go anywhere, anytime, whenever they want. They don't have to be in a public setting for 45 days. All those rules are gone. So that's coming.
So where are these Hope Scholarship kids? Aren't they part of the private school?
No, but they could be at home,
They
they
go
could be
wherever.
homeschooled, they could be
So-
private school.
Well, they can still be in these numbers over here on the left then somewhere. Right?
I know that we received that was from a WEBIS printout. I know that, so, they would have to be designated one or the other in Rivas.
Right.
So I'm not sure exactly where they're located, but
I mean, so we don't
Try to
really
get that
add those
information
numbers
for you.
into any of these other three categories.
no,
This
they're
is just
separate.
the number of
Mhm.
students who are receiving the Hope Scholarship.
That maybe did not have an intent for homeschool or something. They're probably showing up as receiving it, but not in any of the other ones, possibly.
Right, because this is, I mean, they would be in one designated location or another in Rivas. This is where the printouts came from. Yeah.
Of the 49 students here, did we receive any of these folks back after they were
I can
gone?
check into that, I do not know.
I just wondered how many returned there of
Yes.
those folks.
I can try to get more details on the Hope Scholarship.
Are we getting the money back, these people? Are we, that they went to the Hope or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they decide that they want to go back to the public school, do we get the money back?
That's an interesting scenario. What happens is they get so much money
You get a
per semester,
percentage.
and then all of it is out to the private school. But if they've used it all, then we get nothing back. So we wouldn't get them back until the following year, after we're here for October 1st certified list.
So nothing's
It's different,
prorated.
it's different than the mid-year transfers that we have with the public charters.
So once I get, they want to spend it pretty quick, that way they don't have to.
Explain the mid-year transfer. Mid-year transfer, we can invoice
And we have
for part of that.
mid-year
That's a
transfer.
whole different.
That is between other counties and also the public charter schools. So say Miss Tammy was here on October 1st. Well, then in November, her family decides she's not going to go to Harrison County anymore. She's going to go over to Doddridge County. So then Doddridge has her cost for the rest of that year. But the interesting thing about Doddridge County is they don't get any state aid.
Right.
So they can't bill anybody for that. However, if she was at Doddridge County on October 1, they came to us for November, I would then go, I'm given a list, a detailed list from the state, and I can bill Doddridge County because I get state aid. Since they don't get any state aid, they have to pay our invoice, but they can't reduce the amount for us sending anyone to them. And the same is true for the public charter schools.
And there is a little bit of a question about the mid-year transfer. It does say may invoice, and we have chosen invoice because we have a large number, really for charter schools. So we've invoiced. Some counties are not invoicing. So that's kind of a question.
We've
With-
Are
collected
you
a lot of
saying
money.
they're coming back from the charter school?
This depends. I mean, if they leave or, it just
What
depends.
do we invoice them if they're not coming back?
We are invoicing for the time that they were here, but they started out at a different county or a different public charter school. We invoiced. We had the conversation, I think it was September-ish, and it was, we had paid out $80,000 at that point in time to public charter schools, and I needed to invoice them. And in order to invoice them, I didn't think it was correct to invoice public charter schools only and not the other counties. And we invoiced all the other counties. I did the calculation, and our net from all of that money coming in and out is to the good of $50,000. Meaning we accepted more students in than we exported out. So we invoiced and we are collecting those funds.
You said not till the 26th, or you talking 25, 26 school year? So the kids that are getting or students that are getting the hope, this year they have to be in our system 45 days? And then they can,
They have to be a public school student for 45 days. Then they withdraw. And there's been all kinds of shenanigans around that because they'll go and enroll and then not really attend until the 45 days are up. So then Jim gets brought in because they want to, because it shows us truancy. So there's all kinds of ramifications to that when students do that. But, so all that is gone. They can just,
the 26, 27.
Yeah, well, it says year 26, I'm assuming,
25, 26.
I think it's this coming school year. Yeah,
And interestingly enough, what they actually went one step farther this past year, we noticed, well, we heard about it, was that they were signing up for the virtual public charter school for the 45 days and actually sitting in a different location and doing that.
right, there's,
Yes.
and I will say, Jim's office has to track, where before, even with homeschool, we didn't really, we had a database, but not now. I mean, we have to enter all of these kids coming and going and trying to track them. So it's, I mean, you can see the numbers there. Those are all entered. As we get kids coming and going or notice of intent, I probably gotten 4 of those just this week. Kids starting in the kindergarten, notice of intent that they're going to go to a private school or whatever. They don't tell us exactly where they're going. So we have to process those and keep a database. That's where you're getting that out of these numbers.
To try.
Where's Elon Musk when they need?
It's a lot of record keeping. Yeah.
Our next page, you can see the projected employees to exceed state aid. That's the same information, but this just shows you the graph from 2018 to current. You'll see the dip down, a great reduction in fiscal year of 23-24, and that was due to the ESSER funding that was utilized for staffing during those years.
You can see that direct correlation between our enrollment and the
Right.
number of positions being paid.
Even
And
if it's
then-
not an increase in staffing, with the decrease of enrollment, that's less covered. So
And the
that's why-
ESSER funding, if you remember, and I don't know, because we got that money in 21, we didn't add positions. We didn't use them to add new positions. That money was allocated for salaries so that we could do some projects like roofs and things that we needed to do to our buildings. And so that's why it came out of that, but we didn't use it to add positions. We knew better.
Well, a lot of counties use them for.
Right, and they had to rip those positions. We're not in a good position either with our enrollment problem.
I saw where one county has to, it's close to us, has to, 7%, they have to, cut 7% or something of their staff.
We are fortunate that for retirements, we only have 6 professional positions that are being retired from and 10 service positions. So that's a good thing. Now, here are the numbers for the next few pages. I broke it down to specifics for you, but just wanted to give you the overall view that the total amount of number of abolished positions that we have are 16, 16 for professional, 17 or 7.5 for service, and extracurricular are 68. Just so you know, this includes the merger and consolidation. We do not have that many that we are going to be abolishing just in the normal transfer season, by no means. So that's where, you know, our total amount of funding or reduction due to the abolished positions is $1,772,409.50. Now, there are a few creations that are needed, 2 professional, 3 service, and 1 extracurricular. So that will total $296,877. So that avoided cost from reductions is $1,475,532.50. Now, here's where it's all broken down. I started with the positions that we abolished due to the merger and consolidation. When we did staffing, we wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to move either from Liberty High School over to Byrd or WI and Mountaineer Middle over to Liberty Middle. So these positions, they were reduced due to resignations, in-county transfers, some retirements. So that was just due to movements because we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to move. And then listed is the extracurricular positions that were abolished due to the merger and consolidation. Then it brings us to this current season, the positions that we need to realign. These, all the realignments are professional positions except for one, and one was just a location. The first one, they were placed, the student has moved on to high school, and so there was no point in being based at an elementary school. That's not going to benefit them, the students at the high school. So that's just going to be they're doing the exact same position, assisting a student, a Braille specialist assisting a student. So they're just moving to the high school where the student's going to be listed for meetings and, any kind of trainings and everything to be there. The other, you'll see that we've got, the pre-K teachers that are going to be realigned to half developmental delay, half pre-K teachers, because they were already in a hybrid situation. We wanted to make sure it was clear and that it was listed in detail really what their job was. And so there wouldn't be any issue in the future as to exactly what
It has
the
to be
responsibilities are.
3-step increase.
Yes,
for
we wanted to
special
make
ed.
sure they received that.
We want, yeah. So,
What do you mean by hybrid classroom?
They're half pre-K special needs, half regular pre-K.
Okay.
And so they're writing IEPs, but only half of the students. So it's kind of like a step up if you have a self-contained.
And
So,
it allows them to do 3-step increase
right,
for special ed.
yeah, through special ed, yes. And then the last one, we're just switching their homeschool, or we're just switching itinerant in there so that they can assist in servicing other areas if needed. Yeah. Now on to the,
Mrs. Leesburg, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
sure.
Positions to abolish here, wasn't there two Title I teachers and another fourth, or I just see the one?
Well, there was 2 title positions. One's listed, these positions were paid for through Title I funding. One was a Title I teacher, and the other was a social and emotional learning specialist. That was Title I funded as well. So the administrator decided which positions to reduce at that school.
So they just reduced one instead of two?
No, they reduced one Title I position, and the social and emotional learning specialist, it was paid for with Title I funding. So that was the position that they decided to abolish.
Will those
At that
teachers
school.
have jobs elsewhere?
Yes, yes, I've already met with them all.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So, and the ESP, you'll see right there, that's extra support program. I know that was a reduction of need at that school. And so that's why that's being eliminated. And that's what, a lot of they're open positions, or some of them are open positions to where it didn't involve addressing a staff member. And I tried to give a brief little discussion on the side so you knew why.
Looking at the 3 teachers at Salem, how many does that bring us down to at Salem now?
There's 1 per grade level, except for, we're going to need to create a first grade there for an overflow classroom.
1 per grade level?
Except for first grade, there's going to be 2.
We have 2 kindergartens.
Right.
Where are these 3 teachers going? Or do we know? Or have they on somewhere?
Yes, I can let you know that privately.
I mean,
Yes, that's
I
going
mean,
to be,
they've gone somewhere, right?
they've chosen a position.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
and I can let you know. That'll
That's
be on
fine,
the
I don't need to
15th
know where they're
agenda.
going. I
did
just,
this.
that they've gone somewhere.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, I've met with them all, and they all have a home. Yes,
Okay.
that's why I wanted to make sure that they knew that, yes.
That's really something kind of unique to Harrison, because we try to get a comprehensive list of open vacancies. And while she's out doing transfers, she can offer those by seniority. And they have a job, so they're not all summer trying to bid and get a position. That's just something that we've always done here.
We try to be as respectful as possible
Yes.
to all staff members and.
It's a lot of, it's
offer as
upfront
much.
work, but I think it
Yes.
saves a lot of heartache
Lot
from the
of lot less
staff.
stress.
And then in May, if they didn't care for the positions that were available, they always can bid over the summer.
They are not locked in.
At least they have a position and they know where they're going.
And with the service, they're automatic applicants for all positions, and everybody knows that they will have a position next year.
So if I counted right, we're down to 8 classrooms at Salem?
There should be, I don't have the,
Pre-K, K to first grades, second, third, fourth, fifth. Is it 8 classrooms?
on the next page, you'll be able to see where we are. I try to put it in this format so you can see where we're needing to abolish and then recreate a position due to overflow. Like there's an overflow at 3rd grade at Johnson, 3rd grade, and then we're having to create a 1st grade. There's just, in some schools, and that's going to happen at Salem, it happens at Johnson. It just happens at some school, even at Simpson, where they kind of follow that grade level, when you need an additional for that year only.
Usually until they get to 4th grade.
Right, and then we go to 28.
Their 3rd grade can go to 25, and then 28, that's when it starts changing.
Right. But that causes an increase of aides with the aides in 1st through 3rd grade now.
That's another piece, since we've added aides to 1st grade, 2nd grade, when we realign 1st grade, 2nd grade, now you've got the aides there.
Oh,
It's
yes.
added a different.
And that's why we post specifically, I did research ahead of time, how should we even post and approach all these aides if there was ever a reduction of a grade level or what, because we've got some pre-K that's been there since the beginning in kindergarten. So that's why we post them grade specific, so if there is a reduction, it only affects that grade level instead of all of them at the school with seniority.
And we're posting them all as ECAT.
ECAT
To make
with
them
the
more-
specific grade level that they will be focusing on it and the classroom they'll be in.
This state aid is all assuming nothing changes this year, correct?
Yes. Yes.
More changes than it stays the same.
How many certified positions will that leave us open, vacant? Do we have any positions still vacant?
Yes, yes. We have several special ed positions. That's the majority of our positions that are open currently. And I know we started out the year with 40-some, and hopefully we'll be down from that with the merger and consolidation. Should help with that, with open positions as well. And the special ed and math.
One of the things too to consider, we were talking about this today. Fortunate in the county that we offer second chance classrooms, is that, mid-level with a child's misbehaving or whatever, you go to a second chance. It's a great idea. That's not everywhere. We do that here. Those are all out of formula positions. really, and same way with alternative, and I know the legislature's looking at doing alternative type programming. Right now, all of our alternative programming's really out of formula, minus $179,000. So you think about what we're doing in this county already with an alternative setting that's all out of formula. So we would like to be able to sustain that, but as enrollment, I mean, those are the positions you would have to start looking at. You know, of course, your core classroom teachers, those are not, ones that you would consider, or the special ed positions or whatever, but, and we've got an LPN in every one of our schools, which is extremely needed. They're needed, but they're not paid for.
formula.
They're out of formula.
Right, yeah.
Because we need them, and I think as a board and as a county, we know that we need them. And we really, and I think the levies, excess levy support staff, pro officers, out of formula. There's so many things that they don't fund that we know that we need as a school system.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, here we have listed the notification. These are just important personnel season dates and timelines. So we've already received our notification of early retirements. That was on the February 18th agenda. Our staffing conference, that all starts, I know I met with all the principals individually regarding their staffing needs. Also notification of transfers, those, like I said, they've already been all hand delivered ahead of time. We have our hearings. If someone requests a hearing, we have hearing dates that for April the 1st and 15th. And then our large posting, that's for next year. We always keep it the exact same week every single year so everybody knows when to expect it, and that's that first week, the first posting in May. And we're keeping on track with that. And we're definitely trying to keep track of the open positions, also be aware of the positions with the middle and the merger and the consolidated schools. If they move and we know they're extra, then we can eliminate them as needed. So we can try to keep the staffing in check that way as well.
When did you say the hearing dates were going to be?
1st and 15th of April.
that's only if we.
If they're
request
requested, yes.
for hearings.
So in other words, we'd have to have,
She'll know, we usually give them 10 days or something.
Yes. Yes, and so that they have to notify me within the 10 days of receiving notification. And I met with them Friday, yesterday and today. And so there'll be enough time to let you know by the 1st. There shouldn't be any unless there's anything late decided for the 15th. But everybody has been met with, that's been recommended now. And then, so the last page, analysis of staffing levels, the two big questions. How many positions will the county be over formula? Well, this is including the 30 additional aides, but we're over formula 277.21 positions. And what number can the excess levy support? The excess levy can only support 200. So we're dipping in, yes. This is where it goes. Yes. This one's a finance. Yep.
so
Also, one of the positions that's on transfer is our project aware position, but that's grant funded.
That's great funded.
And that grant funding is gone, so we're not keeping the coordinator. We are working to do outside contracts for the therapists because they've been so valuable. And that's gonna fall back to the department to coordinate and take care of. There just won't be as much operating funding for that, but we really wanted to keep those therapists, but they're not in our formula. So they're contracted. Yes.
where are we going to find the money for the 77? Is that coming from you?
Yeah.
Is this part of the reason why we cannot offer a raise to all the employees?
You're speaking right there. I mean, as our enrollment continues to decline, we first have got to get our staffing in check. And so we've got a long ways to go. We've lived a very nice life last couple of years because we have the ESSER money. So we use that to cover those. But when you look at those two graphs side by side, enrollment on one side and the staffing on the other, you'll see that it's been an inverse relationship. Because we've not decreased the staffing because we have funds available. So this year, we will more than likely be dipping into our reserves that we have accumulated just to keep everybody employed. As long as you guys do the recommendations Ms. Leesburg and Mrs. Stetler put together. Because it's just worse if you don't. So we'll go to the state aid, preliminary state aid. And don't get too excited because it doesn't look like there's a big change, does it? In the paper that I gave you. However, it is masked. It is masked because of two things. First thing, our state aid is based upon, for student enrollment, a number of positions that are funded, right? Well, the state aid gives us 72.3 professionals for every 1,000 students. Harrison County currently has employed 86.11 professionals for every 1,000 students. So you can see that there's a huge disparity there. And that's what's causing part of, well, the bulk of what our issues were so overforming. On service, we're funded for 52.79 for every 1,000 students, and we're carrying 59.56 service for every 1,000 students, which is why we're over on that side as well. But the problem there becomes where it looks, we're getting funding for 14 more positions, not really. We're getting funded for 30 additional service positions, which have to be those third grade aides. But that means we've lost funding for 16 positions that we currently have, that we're gonna have to pick up. So when you look at the details, it doesn't look like we're losing any money. But you can see we're only gaining on service personnel $50,000. Well, how does that cover 30 positions? That doesn't. And that's why I wanted to start with service there first. When you look at, it's masked also because the multi-county vocational school, UTC, we're the fiscal agent, so all their numbers have to come through us and then we'll take them back off at the bottom. But in addition to that, the charter schools are in there. For the students, of our students that attend charter schools, they're in there as well. That's evident when you look at the enrollment for the second month head count. This year, our second month head count for October 1 of 24 was 9355. See where we're actually being funded at 9,492.63. That's because of the charter schools. So they calculate what our state aid eligible positions are on that number, but then we have to back out UTCs and the charter schools. So you can't really say that it's not masked. And that's why it became really convoluted this year because the charter school enrollment went up so much that I had to figure out a different way to show you. It's also masked because the professional personnel, we're only showing a loss of $670,000, but we lost 22 positions. Well, that doesn't work. Mathematically, that does not work. I had to contact the State Department. I said, I'm sorry, these numbers don't work. And so whenever they gave me back all of the, I got all the data files behind their calculations. And so I dug in and found out that the state average salary had increased for next year over what it was for the current year that we're in, which is masking the problem as well. The actual nuts personnel, professional personnel that we're losing money for those 22 positions is $1,189,000. For the service personnel, $464,000. In fixed charges, that's our Social Security, Medicare, workers' comp, $136,000, for a total of about $1.8 million in state aid. So yes, 280 kids impact us significantly.
If you look at the last 3 years, maybe 4 years, there's 1,000 students.
Yes, 1,000 students. And that is more than the whole entirety of Bridgeport High School, because I think they're at 882, 832 somewhere. It's right at, isn't that right at around the size of RCB for next year? When you look at the blue numbers, the total state aid formula for professional for the 70627, that's actually 2 different categories. It's professional personnel, which is our instructional personnel, plus the professional student support personnel, which is your nurses and counselors and social workers. So sorry to bring doom and gloom. But yes, you hit the nail on the head. Any questions?
So we won't hear from you again till, April 17th?
April the 17th, and it's gonna be a little bit of an issue. We're gonna do it. We have to stick to it because the budget has to be approved by May 30th. However, we don't get our final state aid calculations till April 25th. So we will go through, huh? So, yeah, so we'll do a budget process and discussion on April 17th. And then knowing that as soon as
Isn't
that happens,
months behind?
it is delayed. When you look back, it's delayed every time you have a governor's change.
Okay.
They start the legislative session later when you have a new governor coming in. Because normally we get it about March 31st, April 1st. So we'll just roll with what the preliminary numbers tell us and move forward.
So we, oh, okay, we're going to go first.
And talking about federal funding, Lola really was told, just look at a 10% decrease across the top of what she was expecting. So that's how she made decisions, based on a 10% reduction. Yeah.
That's what they actually tell us to do every
And
year.
that's what we hope that it is.
Yeah. No, thank you guys.
Thank you all for that wonderful meeting you brought to us.
Warm and fuzzy.
Yes, sir.
Unintended consequences.
What's every county all around us?
Unintended consequences.
Barber County called me, he's been paid well. He says, I can't pay well. He said, what he was saying, they're probably gonna head your way. I said, well, if there's any openings, we are. The rest of the county is ripping, they're ready. I mean, we're just.
All right. Is there any other comments or questions? No? We have an hour and 15 minutes until the next meeting. There are no other comments or questions. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Second? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Adjourned.
She's sleeping.
Thank you.
I seconded it, I didn't have to say aye.